All right. And everybody can see my shared screen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Debbie. Deborah,
Welcome.
sorry.
No,
All right. So to kick things off, I know we've done this a few times, but I want to do it one more time because I know that we have some different attendees on here today. I'm going to walk us through the modules really quickly, because if there is anything in this entire process that is going to be your best friend besides me, is going to be this institute and the modules that you can access to use to gain information about what is going to be presented on that certification exam. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to bounce you guys around a little bit. And I'm going to reshare my landing page of the Institute. And we're just going to walk through that quickly. If you've heard it once before, I'm sorry, but I just want to make sure that everybody feels good and comfortable with this, you guys, because this is really going to be the meat and potatoes of the content that you're going to be getting. Okay. So when you go to your Institute homepage, the landing page is going to look like this for everyone. Just make sure that you are signed in. I am up here, obviously. Hi, Christy. So the first thing that I want to point out to you guys is the modules. Okay. So if you click on modules, you have the capability of going here and looking for absolutely anything that you need assistance with, right? So you can search for whatever module it is you're looking for in particular. You can come down here and you can actually click on this section that says skills. So if, for example, you're like, you know what, I'm not really too sure about assessments. Let me click on assessments and see what pulls up. You can hit search. And all of these modules that you see are going to be in relation to assessments. And they will provide you with a deeper level of understanding once you have taken those. Whenever you select a module to attend, it's going to give you this beautiful little breakdown of what it is about, what those learning objectives are. It's going to tell you exactly the time frame that this is going to take you to complete it. It is also going to provide you with these really awesome resource guides that I love. There is a learning guide that you can click on, and this will just break out and explain to you, these are the things that you might not know before the training. Here's what you're going to learn during it. And this is the competency that we expect you to have when you've completed this particular module. Also, a lot of these come with some learner guides. So you're able to input how you feel before and after the training. And then there are questions and reflective pieces that you can complete as well. That is one thing that comes with the modules. Another thing is the resource guide. So if you complete a module and you're like, oh man, I can't really remember what was that video about, what was that particular handout that came with that module, I'd really like to download that. These are all going to be located here. So you will be able to come and click on these hyperlinks and you will be able to pull up the various, oops, somebody's not muted. Sorry, guys. Can somebody mute? I'm catching a lot of feedback. I got it. Okay. You are able to click on these hyperlinks and that will pull up, it'll redirect you, but essentially it will take you to the content that was buried into that module. Something else that I want to show you guys is your compass. Okay. And this is your baby. The little egg that you guys had to carry home and people wanted to make sure you could keep it alive for a week. This is your egg. This is your baby, right? So what you're going to want to do, and I think most of the folks on this have already done this, is you're going to want to take your pre-assessment. This is going to guide you into knowing the areas that you are really, really strong at, but also those areas that you could benefit a little bit more from having additional education on. So for example, I took this years ago. Anytime you see this purple little squiggly, that means that there is something in that competency that we're not super proficient on, right? Anytime you see, and I love that professional practice is the one that I got the highest one on. I love that. Anytime you see this green check mark, that means that everything falling under that particular competency was met. So I am well-versed in ethical and legal practice, reflective practices, PD, thank God, because you guys, that is my title at the McVie world in my state. I am the professional development coordinator. I would hope that I know what I'm doing. Professional boundaries and quality improvement. So clearly I've met every component of that particular competency. So it's giving me a green check mark and saying, listen, girl, you've got this one, you know this, you're good to go, right? Anytime. Yes. Okay. So I have a question came in and it was from Mari. Oh, I feel like I'm butchering your name. I'm so sorry. But yes, so the question was, can we take the pre-assessment again in preparation for the certification exam? Absolutely. You guys can take this pre-test as many times as you want. And I will say that the pre-test is actually harder than the actual national certification exam is. So if you are doing well, and if you're getting 72% or above on this exam, you are more than likely going to pass that certification exam when your time comes, okay? So coming on up here, I'm gonna click on parent-child interactions, because I have a purple squiggly there. So there is just something that I did not get that I need to go back in and I need to dive deeper on. So I click on that little squiggle and it breaks it out and it says parent-child relationships, I am good at. Developmentally appropriate guidance, also great at. Influences on parenting, I'm gonna have to like take a second stab at that, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on influences on parenting. I'm going to click on this little arrow. This is what I love about the Institute, you guys. Every single module that is on the Institute that relates to influences on parenting is going to pull up, and I'm going to be able to look at all of those and kind of filter through what I think I need to be focusing on the most. So that is something that I think is very, very, very helpful. In addition to knowing, you know, when you do finally dive in, that we have those resource guides and those learning guides, and, you know, the objectives that are also going to be really important for you guys to remember. Any questions about those? Any questions about the modules or how to read your compass? Okay, I just want to make sure. I love to make sure that everybody's feeling good and great about that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this because that's what I really wanted you guys to know about how to work the Institute. And I'm going to pull back up my other presentation. I lied. There's one more thing. I just realized I did not show you guys where to get that glossary of terms. And that is another thing that I want you to have in your pocket. So when you are on your landing page, you are looking at this whole learn more. Let's talk about this. There is going to be frequently asked questions. So if there's something you're unsure of, you guys can go on ahead and click on that. There's going to be a direct link for the pre-assessment, but if you come down here, there's this consolidated national competency framework. And if you click on that, it's going to pull up a PDF. And on this PDF, it's going to show you exactly what we are looking for. So the competencies that we're looking for, what those domains are when they're broken out. And then, and I don't want to make anybody sick, so close your eyes if you don't want to see all of this. But if we slide down, way, way, way down, we have this beautiful glossary of terms. It kicks off on page 35. Every term that is on here, I am telling you, you will find on your certification exam. So if there is any questions about any single one of these, you want to make some flashcards, you want to buddy up with somebody, this is going to be a good baby to kick off with, right? This is going to be our egg as well. So between this and then that career compass that will link you directly to the modules, those are going to be the two biggest assets that you can tap into prior to sitting for your exam. Okay. Is there any questions about any of that? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually kick us off with our testing rules, because I think it's incredibly crucial for everyone to feel comfortable with the test. And there are quite a bit of rules. I don't know if any of you have ever sat for, I know we work in family support. If any of you guys are social workers by trade, but if you've ever sat for an exam, for example, I have my MSW. That was like a 4-hour exam where you walk in and you can have nothing and you can take no bathroom breaks. You can't get up, you can't move. It's very stressful. But it's to alleviate the potential of any scamming or cheating, anything along those lines. Because we are offering the national certification exam in a virtual format, it is going to be proctored instead, which just means that while you are testing, you're being recorded and your screen's being monitored. Okay. So don't think we can slip to the side and have another screen over here and look up some answers and stuff. That's not going to work. It's all going to be captured during that proctoring piece. And I say that because I really want to make sure that nobody accidentally passes, but then gets a violation, so you don't end up passing. So some things that you will want to make sure you are doing the day you are sitting down and you are prepped and ready to take this. You cannot have any physical or digital materials in your exam space. So clear off your pens, your pads, your papers. You can't have any of that there. All you literally want to be you in a room with your monitor. That's it. We don't want to see anything else floating around. Don't have your phone on you. Please don't have people coming in and out of the room, because unfortunately, you will get a rule violation for that. And then even if you did pass, you won't get that credit and you won't get certified. Please know that you are only allowed to have one monitor or screen. So that's going to prevent you from having one up while you're looking, to the left and Googling or researching. Not that I think that anybody would do that. But you're not allowed to do that. So please keep that in mind. And then something that is a little stressful and makes me want to tinkle just thinking about it is that they tell you can't go potty. So make sure that you've gone to the restroom and we've taken care of all of our physical needs prior to sitting down and getting ready to take that exam. Because once you're there, you guys, you are locked into that chair and you don't get to get up and you don't get to move around and you don't get to take a bathroom break. Okay. Some additional rules, and I've already kind of mentioned this, is that you are not allowed to have anyone else in that room with you. I know during the pandemic, we all got really comfortable with keeping kiddos and stuff at home, but please, for the sake of this, you're going to be more stressful with your kid asking for a snack behind you anyway, while you're trying to take an exam. So just make sure that our littles and our family and everything is taken care of prior to sitting for that exam. Don't bring your cell phones in. Again, that relates back to those digital materials. Don't have anyone come into that room and speak to you. And then something that you want to keep in mind as well is you're not allowed to wear hats or non-religious head coverings. So, frequently I like to throw in a baseball cap when my hair is greasy and I just don't have dry shampoo or I feel like washing my hair. I can't do that day. So even if I'm stressed to the max, you're not allowed to wear a baseball cap or any type of a head covering. They need to be able to see your face, your eyes, and make sure that, nothing else is going on in that room. Some things that you are allowed to do is when you're in the exam and you're testing and you're taking that exam, there is a text to speak function that you are able to utilize. That is completely acceptable. That is why we built that in. And that is especially important for anybody who may be struggling with reading and any type of testing anxiety, just making sure that you guys feel comfortable when you are taking that as well. And then the last thing is when you sit down for the exam, it is going to ask you to agree to the terms of the start of the test, which is basically everything that we've just looked at the slides. If you do not, so for whatever reason, you're like, nah, I'm not agreeing to that, you will be booted out of the exam and you won't be allowed to take it. So please, please, please just agree. And any questions about that piece? You will have 3 hours to sit for the exam, so 180 minutes total. I will say that after submitting for the exam and after you've completed your test and you hit submit and you're all done, you're going to find out right away if you passed or did not pass, right? You're going to know right away. However, there's a stipulation, because if you broke or made a violation during your exam, your proctoring, your 3-hour proctoring time span is going to be reviewed. If they see someone came in the room, you're wearing a hat, you had your phone, you accessed a second screen, any of those things happened, it's going to be a very sad day because your pass is now a fail. And then you're going to have to resit. Okay? Okay. I will say that one of my team members, she does the reviews for these, and there have been quite a few moments of colorful language that have bypassed her. So I know sometimes we might get a little irritated and we might want to say things, but Kelly is super sweet, and I don't know about filling up her days with a lot of F-bombs. So if we're going to drop them, maybe drop them in our head. But she will be witnessing that, and she will be able to see that. Not that that's any, harm or foul to you guys, just as long as we're not, saying it to her while she's reading it. Also, your results will be returned after. So Kelly, what happens is you guys sit for the exam, you get that immediate email saying, okay, you've passed pending review. Kelly will sit down, she will watch your proctoring piece, she will make sure no violations occurred, and within 1 month of you testing, so I believe you guys signed up for April 12th as your test day, so within 1 month of that, you will get a notice saying, hey, awesome, you had no violations, you have formally passed. You are now going to be registered on the National Family Support Certification Registry, and you have officially earned the title of Certified Family Support Professional. Are there any questions about that? Does anyone feel nervous about it? I see some head shakes. Don't be nervous. You guys got this. You've been listening to me for like 6 months. I swear you've got this. I see a question came in. How do we make sure we are registered for the exam itself, to take the exam? Is that your question? Okay. So great that you brought that up. When I signed my contract to complete this project with South Carolina, we were asked to create an event on the Institute. Let me go to my Institute page. We were asked to complete an event, and you guys were asked to sign up for that event. Let me pull that up here. All right. Forgot you guys are South Carolina. You're not my study group. Hang on one sec. All right. So I'm sharing my screen, right? So I want you guys to, when you log on in, so go to your dashboard, you're going to go to your modules. You're going to type in South Carolina, and you are going to see the South Carolina group testing registration There are actually 2 of them because when this was set up in the system, it copied it twice and we had folks register for both. So I left them both on there. Do not worry, that does not impact you guys whatsoever. I will make sure that your names are pulled and sent to your McV lead state contact. Don't worry about that. But what I want you to worry about is getting in there. So I want you to go to this, whichever one you pull up, it doesn't matter, truthfully. And then you're going to register for this event. And I want you guys to do this today if you have not, because the deadline is today. Okay. And it's not to sit for the exam, it's just to get you registered, because your state McV team is going to pay for anyone who is registered to sit for the exam on this invitation. Okay. And then your formal testing date is going to be April 12th. So you won't have to worry beyond getting yourselves signed up for this. I will get all of that information over to your McV state lead, and then we will coordinate getting everybody registered and paying for your exam completion. Okay. Does everybody feel great about that? Here, you know what I'm going to do too? I'm going to pop this directly into our chat. So you guys can just click on that. Take the 2 seconds right now and just sign yourselves up. I just get it off your hands. Just do it immediately. So that way there you can make sure you guys are all ready for that. Okay. I'm going to stop share again. Any questions about that? And I know Katrin left. So I have a different contact now, but I will be following up with her just to make sure that we push this out one more time. Okay. Not hearing any questions. Let's go back to sharing the screen. Okay. What we are going to do now is we are going to dive into our March study group topics if everybody is ready. You guys feel good? Did I overwhelm you? Did I make you feel nervous? I really don't want to make you feel nervous. I know you guys have got this. And I can't wait to celebrate post testing. If you guys want to fly me to South Carolina, I won't complain. I really won't. It's probably much warmer there than it is right in Iowa. Okay. So we're going to transition on into our terminology review. Fantastic. That's great. I'm glad. All right. So these were the assigned modules that you guys should have completed prior to us all getting together. I will say that the substance use pieces, I pulled out what I can, but you guys, that is very, very content heavy. And if you have not looked at them, please go back and do that. There is a lot of information within those 3 modules that is very hard to capture completely on a few slides in an hour's worth of our time together, okay? So when we are talking about terminology review, let's kick off with prenatal development first. And you guys, this one was funny because you can't tell, but I am very pregnant. And it was very funny to hear about all of those morning sickness and all of the signs and symptoms that we get at these stages in our lives. And I just think women are amazing. So let's pat ourselves on the back. But my first question is, when you have a new little embryo, it consists of 3 layers. Can anybody tell me what those 3 layers of that beautiful little embryo, not quite fetus yet, of what those are? Does anybody know? And I was laughing because I just hit this recently. And I can't wait till we get to all the signs and symptoms of first trimester. And it's okay if you don't, but if you do, go on ahead, take yourselves off mute, type into chat.
I remember one is it endoderm? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Those?
one of them is endoderm. Thank you, Debbie. And the endoderm is going to be what is going to transition into the innermost, that's going to be the innermost layer of the embryo. Guys, our bodies are literally so cool. It's going to be the innermost layer of that embryo, and that's what's going to become the baby's lungs, intestines, bladder, all that good stuff that hangs out on the inside, right? So that's one of them. So if we have an endo, then we have there's Dawn. Hi, Dawn, I missed you. An ectoderm and the mesoderm. So the ectoderm is going to be that top layer of cells. And this top outermost layer, that's what's going to be, our skin, our central and peripheral nervous systems, our eyes, our inner ears, and all of those really fine connective tissues. That mesoderm layer, that one's going to be in the center. So, we have the ecto, the endo. So we've got the entrance, the exit, or the entrance, the end, and then the middle, right? So that mesoderm, that middle layer, is going to be where their little hearts start beating. And that's going to be forming the heart. That's going to be working on the circulatory system. This is where we're going to get all of the, very important things like bones, muscles, kidneys, and pretty much your reproductive systems. Okay. So that is going to be the 3 layers of your embryo. Shortly after 7 weeks is when baby will turn from an embryo into a fetus. But before that, they hang out in this stage for a little bit while they formulate and start building all of these really awesome body parts that we've all come to know and love. Okay. First trimester, if you are working with a mama and she is in the first trimester, what are some signs and symptoms of being in the first trimester of pregnancy? Go on ahead and lay them out. I know most of you have experienced them.
Nausea, vomiting, breast tenderness.
Yes. Keep going, there's more. Headaches. Oh, yes, headaches. Can we talk about how last night I got up 6 times to pee? Because frequent urination, it's a big one. It's a big one. So you're going to see a lot of bloating. You're going to see the changes in the breasts. You're going to maybe start experiencing some heartburns, lots of sleepiness. You guys, so sleepy. You're going to see things like a missed period, right? Your period doesn't come, something's going on. And then you might see folks getting a little bit more emotional. For example, I cried when I saw my almost 2-year-old walk down a flight of stairs for himself for the first time. Why? I have no idea, but apparently it was like a hallmark moment and was worthy of several tears. So these are all things that you're going to see that are going to happen. Can anyone tell me why these things are happening in the first trimester? What are the 3 main hormones that are making us cry, making our boobs hurt, and making us literally want to murder the next person who comes into our room? What are the 3 big hormones that are making us want to be sick? Estrogen, that is one. Estrogen is definitely one of them. HCG, yes, this is when a woman urinates on an at-home test, and you can determine if there's HCG present in the urine, then you are pregnant. And that is the fun one that gives us a lot of that nausea and vomiting. That's a really fun one. What's the last one? Anybody know?
Progesterone.
Absolutely. Thank you, Debbie. And I don't know if you guys know this, but times have changed, okay? Times have very much changed, because when I was in utero, they told my mom I was a boy. I am not a boy. When I found out I was pregnant with my son, they can tell you which ovary you ovulated from, because you will have a little cyst of progesterone that will sit outside of that ovary that released that egg that will help to keep baby and to keep that egg into your system and to allow it to stick to that uterine lining. Did anybody else know that? Because I found out my baby came from the right tube. Had no idea that that was a thing. That is what you can learn when times be a changin'. Hang on one second, I have to admit someone. Also, fun fact is first trimester goes from that, the date of conception all the way up to 13 weeks. When you hit 13 weeks, you are now going to transition into second trimester, and second trimester is going to be, probably the same. You might still have some heartburn, some frequent urination, your breasts are still going to be large. A lot of these signs and symptoms of first trimester might follow in, or they might not. I have 6 pregnant friends right now, and none of them had nausea. So every woman is different, but these are just some of the signs and symptoms, and they might stay or they might go when we hit second trimester, but it's something to be mindful of as we are working with our families. If I were to say third trimester to you, does anyone know when third trimester kicks off? At what stage in our pregnancy? How many weeks along do you have to be to hit that third trimester window?
Week 28.
Week 27. However, week 28 is when babies become viable outside of the uterus. So, if there is a risk of preterm delivery, once a mom hits 28 weeks, there is a very, very high success rate of baby surviving after they've hit that 28 week. So that's what viable means. It just means that everything's in place. They are going to need a lot of love and a lot of care and a lot of attention, but everything is in place and they have a higher risk of surviving and developing on track, just as well as those that are born at full term. Very, very comforting statistic to share with any of your mamas who are hitting that age range. Can anybody tell me what full term is considered? So if I were to go to you and say, I'm full term right now, if I have my baby, at what week do you become full term?
38.
38. 38. And I say this because it changes every single time. My sister was pregnant with my nephew 13 years ago, and 37 weeks and 0 days was the right answer to that question. That changes a lot. That changes a lot. So now, and you want to go based off of the content that is in the modules that we are taking. So in the modules, and currently to date, 38 weeks and 0 days is considered full term. Okay. Can anybody tell me what late term is? What weeks are late term?
Would it be anything over 40?
41 weeks. Yeah. Yep. 41 weeks is going to give you that late term status. And guys, for these mamas who are post-term, we are hugging them greatly. So post-term mamas are 42 weeks, which I don't see that as common anymore. I do know most midwives and OBs will allow you to go 10 days over your due date, as long as it's low risk and there's no complication. But post-term is 42 weeks. So we want to hug those ladies really closely because they've definitely been through the ringer, right? All right. So switching from that prenatal basics care module and moving on into our set of 3 substance abuse modules, I'm going to ask you guys, what is MAT? Because that was talked about a lot on all 3 of the modules that we took. So when we're talking about substance use, they were saying that MAT is available during pregnancy. Does anybody remember?
medically assisted treatment.
Absolutely. Medication assisted treatment. So these are available currently for three specific drug uses or substance uses: tobacco use, alcohol use, and opioid use. Honestly, right now, and it's very crazy when we think about the way that our culture has progressed, but opioid use is one of the highest come downs that we see, or one of the highest needs when it comes to MAT treatment. So basically what this means is that you have a mama who maybe has tobacco dependency, and instead of allowing her or helping her to continue to smoke during pregnancy, because that can cause a very wide array of issues for herself, her baby, we are going to sub in that nicotine, that smoking use, with a drug that is a safe counterpart that will continue to meet that. Excuse me, my phone just started talking to me. That will continue to meet that need for her body without actually putting tobacco into her system. Does that make sense? Same with alcohol use, and same with opioid use. So there are essentially medications that will function and that will give your body that satisfaction, or will keep you from craving that level of use, that you can take, that are safe during pregnancy, to assist you to get through that if you have some sort of a substance use or dependency. That makes sense? So then we're going to move on to psychotropic medications in pregnancy. Can you guys tell me, what is a psychotropic med? What is a psychotropic medication?
Antidepressants, mood
Mhm.
stabilizers, anything for bipolar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Laura. So yeah, these are going to be medications that are going to be classified by their actions. So anything that is going to assist your mental load is going to be considered a psychotropic medication. So that may look like an antidepressant. Obviously, it's in the name, but used frequently to treat depression. But also you can use antidepressants for things like sleep disorders, similar to anti-anxiety meds, which I think that that's also in the name. Anti-anxiety meds are used to treat anxiety, a very prevalent diagnosis in women, and pregnant women especially. Also, some of those meds can be used to treat sleep disorders as well. There are antipsychotics. So antipsychotics, you're going to see if there's some sort of a psychotic depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, etc. Mood stabilizers are going to be used to treat things like bipolar, major depressive disorder, and stimulants are going to be things like treating ADHD. Guys, coffee is a stimulant. I say that as I look at my sad coffee that has one shot of espresso in it. But that is a stimulant. Caffeine is a stimulant. Something else that I want you guys to know are that the most widely used psychotropic medications are antidepressants and anxiety meds. 1 in 7 pregnant women have filled at least one prescription for either an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety med. However, the reverse side of that is that if we're just like, let's just go on off of our medications, I don't need them anymore, that can lead to higher risks for mom and baby. So untreated depression is actually linked to preterm delivery. Like, there is a correlation between mama saying, okay, I'm pregnant, I'm going to come off these depressive meds, to her having preterm delivery. A lot of that is because if you're depressed, what are the odds that you are going to be seeking your prenatal care? Probably pretty low, right? So also something to keep in mind. But I just want you guys to have a very good understanding of what psychotropic medications look like. And there are some safe ones. There are, safe anti-anxiety meds. There are safe antidepressants. Obviously you can have stimulants to a certain degree. Everything can be a drug depending on the dose, right? So it's very, very important if you're working with a mama who has something like this and she's talked with you about that you're explaining, hey, it's a really great idea to talk with your medical care provider. Just check in, just make sure, because if what you're currently on is maybe not pregnancy safe, there are alternatives that can be used in the interim. But switching medications and things like that during pregnancy, it's very high risk. So we want to make sure that we're talking to an actual medical professional about that. And we as home visitors aren't diagnosing or providing any type of a suggestion regarding that. We're going to send them to their doctors, right? Okay. Teratogens. Tell me what those are. A teratogen. Things that cause birth defects. Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine. So this can be a substance, a chemical, an infection. This could be some form of a disease that mom already had. So like diabetes, for example, if we're not treating that correctly, and if we're not paying attention to blood sugar levels, that can cause birth defects. If we are continuing to use drugs and alcohol, things like herpes, syphilis, those can all cause birth defects. And mercury, obviously, we want to monitor how much fish and raw fish we're eating, things like that. But any type of a teratogen is classified as something that can cause a birth defect to the baby, especially during that first trimester where that neural tubing is forming. We always want to be really, really cautious of what we're putting in our bodies around that time, because even something as let's go drink 6 energy drinks is going to potentially cause a problem. Any questions about what a teratogen is? And again, it can be a substance, it could be a chemical, it could be an infection, it could be something that mom was already diagnosed with. It doesn't have to just be drugs and alcohol. It can be, those other things as well. If I were to say neonatal abstinence syndrome, what does that mean? Or NAS for short. This was very heavily talked about in all of the modules as well. Neonatal abstinence syndrome. Yeah, Tiffany. So Tiffany says babies born addicted to drugs. Yeah. Has anyone seen a baby come down from being addicted to drugs? Yeah. Was it the most horrific thing you've ever seen in your life? Because I've seen it and it's absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah. This is going to be, absolutely, thank you. This is going to be when a baby is exposed to certain drugs in the womb prior to birth. So essentially, well, Catherine said, I used to work daily in Peds PICU and we treated the babies for days before they went home. Yeah. I worked in, and this is a tangent, but when I was in high school, I worked at a daycare and we had a baby who came in that had NAS, and she was coming down still off of crack. And it was one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my life. And it is one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life. Trying to comfort a baby that is withdrawing. I mean, you guys have seen adults withdrawal. It's a million times worse when you're looking at a little baby and they can't communicate what their needs are. Very, 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 very sad. Anyway, so this can lead to, you're going to see that chances are after this kiddo is coming down off, You're going to see them have a lot of different signs and symptoms. So there's a lot of high-pitched screaming. There are tremors. There is an inability for them to almost be soothed at moments because their neurons are firing everywhere because they're essentially losing that drug from their system. Sleep is going to be hit or miss with these kiddos. I know the kiddo that I personally witnessed coming down off of crack was unable to nap. And we spent 8 hours a day in a room with her while she screamed every single day while she was coming down off of that. You can see a lot of hyperirritability. We had to closely monitor for seizures. There's just a wide array, basically anything that you could see an adult experiencing while they're going through withdrawals is compacted into a tiny little baby body. Very scary, very dangerous. It typically, after they are born, it obviously takes some time for those substances to leave their system. So you'll see this happen within probably about 72 hours of babies being delivered. That's when you'll start to kind of catch on to the signs of them having those withdrawals, the shakes, the tremors. It can stop depending on the severity of the use, what the drug was, how frequent it was happening. I mean, it can last for 1 week, or for example, the little baby I worked with, she was in that nursery at 3-4 months, and she was still going through it and didn't stop for several months. So from 1 week to about 6 months after birth, babies are still going to go through these withdrawal symptoms. When we're looking further down the line, you could see that they will have some higher social and emotional needs and delays. You might see that they have things like delayed language development. They might have delayed fine motor skills due to decreased muscle mass. Pretty much everything about them, we're going to have to keep a really close eye on to catch those delays before they become more severe, and to try to give them supports prior to it becoming a deficit, a really large deficit. Something that we can do to help, and that we were gratefully, and I'm very grateful that we were trained on, is called responsive caregiving. So can somebody tell me what responsive caregiving is? And I'm sorry, this is such a heavy topic for 11:30 in the afternoon for you guys. I hope you're not crying over your lunches. I'm so sorry. Any idea about responsive caregiving? Yeah. So Catherine says responding quickly to the baby's needs so they can be soothed if possible by the mother, preferably providing needs based on cues. Absolutely. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to offset that substance. Yes, there it is, Catherine. Catherine just said skin to skin, breastfeeding, etc. We are trying to offset the stress and strain that is happening on this baby's body because they're going through withdrawal. And some great ways to do that is a really comfortable swaddle. That will be something that will be very helpful. A lot of skin to skin research has been very prominent on how important that is. And then making sure that we are always responding to baby's cues. So I go back to that kiddo that I worked with. We had one staff solely directed to take care of that baby who was in our infant room, who was coming down off of that. And we were focused solely on her and making sure that she was going to make it through, and that every single one of her needs was being met to the best of our ability. Obviously, she was in foster care. I'm not her mom, and I was like 17, so I can't do skin to skin. But swaddling, soothing, getting her fed when she was in that moment, trying to comfort her, gentle rocking, gentle swaying, things like that, were all really beneficial. We played, super soft music next to her crib, things like that. Anything that you can think of that will help to soothe and kind of alleviate that constant stress and strain. It's really important if we're working with a family that has a kiddo that's coming down off of something, that we let them know that sometimes your baby is going to show signs of stress and overload, and they might show that by crying, sneezing, hiccuping, jerking, turning away, etc. You are not a bad mom. You are not a bad caregiver. This is just what your baby needs right now to be soothed. And here's how we can provide that to them until they can get through this, right? Okay. There's also some really great videos in the modules themselves, but also just on YouTube and things like that that you guys can go and look at if you're interested in learning more about responsive caregiving and how you can better support the families that you're working with on that. Not because that's going to be on the certification exam, but because it's just incredibly important if we're working with high-risk populations. Okay, next question. Polydrug user. If you are a polydrug user, you are... And this one's pretty quick and simple. Multiple drugs of choice. Absolutely. More importantly, multiple drugs of choice at once. So you have somebody that's like, I'm going to drink, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to get high. Right? Fitbit just keeps listening to me. Apparently it thinks we need to drink, smoke, and get high. But I'm going to drink, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to get high, and I'm going to go snort some Coke, and I don't know what else is out there. But anytime we are using more than one substance to alter our perception at once, that is going to be somebody who is going to be considered a polydrug user. Okay. Tobacco effects. If I were to look at you and say, this mom is still continuing to smoke in her pregnancy. She's not doing the MAT, that medically assisted treatment route. She's straight up just smoking her, cigarettes every single day. What are some signs and symptoms that you would expect to see happen? What are the risks to that mama, to that baby, to that body?
Low birth weight.
Absolutely, Laura. Yes, Tiffany said that too. Low birth weight. And what are some other things?
If it's alcohol related, it could be fetal alcohol syndrome.
You're a step ahead of me. That one's coming next.
Sorry.
Hold that. Premature birth. Chance for breathing problems like asthma. Thank you, Kim. Yes, weak lungs. Especially if they're born prematurely, because the lung development continues and is rounding out the last 2 weeks of pregnancy. So some other things we might see: miscarriage. If we're smoking, that's going to increase our chances of miscarriage. Placental abruption. We might see babies born very early, so that premature birth defects, weak lungs, which goes in with that asthma, and then stillbirth. If we are looking at a mama who continues to use and abuse alcohol during pregnancy, what are some signs that may come from that, Laura?
Fetal alcohol syndrome.
There it is. Yes, absolutely. So fetal alcohol syndrome. We can also see all of the same things with tobacco weight. So we're talking about stillbirth, miscarriage, low birth weight. When we are talking specifically about fetal alcohol syndrome, you're going to see those babies that have abnormal facial features. They might have smaller head sizes. You're going to see poor coordination, poor memory as they get older, hyperactive behavior as they get older. They might be shorter in stature than what they were originally intended to be due to that alcohol use and abuse while they were in utero. And then there is a chance for low IQ. I will say that fetal alcohol syndrome is at no point in time reversible. So once they have that for life. We can continue to provide them with supports and get them in programming and, physical therapy, whatever it is that they may need. But when you have FADS, when you have fetal alcohol syndrome, you have that for life. That will never go away, unfortunately. And I know that it's a hot topic and debated, but when we are talking about the content that was listed in the modules that we took, there are studies that don't show that any amount of alcohol, any amount of tobacco use is safe whatsoever for a baby. I know some doctors will say, oh, it's fine, have a glass of wine, but truthfully, that's not proven and that's not tested. It's very hard to test a lot of things on pregnant women because they are a vulnerable population. So I don't know that we will ever really see that happen, because who wants to be part of an exam where we're like, oh yeah, here, let me drink a glass of wine every single day and see if I mess my baby up. Nobody actually wants to do that, right? So I don't know if we'll ever fully have that proven, but at this point in time, in our modules, they're saying absolutely no alcohol can be had, because it's not proven that even that one little glass of wine won't do some damage. And obviously fetal alcohol spectrum disorders are usually when mom is doing that much more frequently than that one glass of wine, but don't come at me. It's what the module said, okay? There are 5 characteristics of addiction. Can anybody tell me any of those 5 characteristics of addiction?
Let's see. Primary, progressive, chronic, can be fatal. Response to treatment.
Absolutely. So 5 characteristics of addiction. It just means that it's going to arise. The addiction is going to arise on its own. It's going, as long as that person continues to use that substance and they are not seeking treatment, the disease will continue to worsen. Once you have this, you always have this, just like that fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Once it's there, you're never getting rid of it. If you do not receive treatment, it will be fatal, whether that be in the form of you drink your liver to death, or that be in the form of you get behind the wheel of a car after you've been drinking and you crash your car and then pass away that way. Either way, it is still considered fatal if left untreated, and a source and something that stemmed from that actual addiction. And then finally, if people do choose to treat whatever substance they are addicted to, the addiction itself will respond to that treatment. So there is hope. We will always have it, but as long as we continue treatment, it may not lead to that progressive, that fatal, and really sad ending that we could lead into. Any questions about that? I normally do reflective questions after we've gone through terminology review slides, but this time I wanted to leave it open for you guys to ask absolutely any question that you want to ask, whether that be about today, whether that be about the content, or whether that be about the testing that is coming up. I will answer them to the best of my ability, as long as you guys are ready to ask. So that was my last slide. So are there any questions about anything? Anything that you guys want to touch on? And it's okay too, because I'm going to pop my email address into, I know you guys already have it, but I like to be that girl. So let me pop this in here again. If there are any questions that come up at all, please email me. And if I do not know the answer, I will get the answer for you. But I want to make sure you guys feel really, really, really supported and prepared and ready for the exam. And I cannot wait to watch all of you super excitedly jump up and down and have a party when everybody passes. So any questions?
I have
Do you
two
know-
questions.
I got two
Okay.
at once. All right.
So, one, in preparation for the exam, if we wanted to go back and listen to the recordings of the study sessions, how do
Absolutely.
we go about finding them?
Kimberly, that is an excellent question. So I have all of them on my drive. To my knowledge, the McVie contact, so the person who replaced Katrin, she has been uploading them to your South Carolina YouTube page. What I
Okay.
will do after we are done here is I will reach out to her. I will speak with her and just say, hey, can you send me a direct link to the YouTube page? And I will share that out with all of you guys. So that way everybody has access to those links.
Okay.
And you can go back and click on them all. Another thing I can do is I can also send you all of my slides with the notes post this training. If everybody's interested in that, I know I've sent them kind of along the way, but if you want me to do like a roundhouse, here's all the terminology review that we went through, I will do that as well. Absolutely.
Yes, I think that'd be very helpful.
Okay.
My second question, I saw when we registered for the test, it said from 8 to 5. Are we given a specific time, or do we sign up for a time? How does that work?
So that will come down from, again, your McVie state contact. We at the state of Iowa, so we were in between proctoring folks. That contract is going in effect April 1. And then after that, we will be working with your state to get your guys' days and times finalized and ironed out. The great news is that you don't have to actually, with the new proctoring company. So the way it was before, it was a horror show before, guys. Is you would log on for your set time, but then you'd have to sit there and wait potentially for hours for somebody to be available to proctor your exam. And the way it is now, it is you can hop on, you can take your exam, you can be done whenever you're done, hang up, leave, whatever. You don't have to wait for anyone this time. So ideally, I believe the aim for that was that you guys can jump in, spend your 3 hours taking your test any point in time. Sorry, somebody fell out. Any point in time, and then turn around and come back. And I just had a question about what proctoring platform is it? Catherine, that is a great question. I am not in charge of that contract, but I will circle up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a very informative email to all of you. I'm going to include any additional information that I have about the proctoring platform. I'm going to include all of my slides. I'm going to find those YouTube links for you guys. And then I will also include again the event registration link for anybody to log on and get signed up for. Any questions about that?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Oh my God, I love your twang. Come back. Any other questions? Honestly, it feels like I'm back home every
I don't
time
have
I
a-
talk to you guys. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank you. You have made this very easy, and your energy kind of helps keep me focused. And I really appreciate all of your helpful tips with
Thank
everything.
you.
Absolutely.
I'm hormonal, you guys. Don't make me
Ditto.
cry.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
exciting.
you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. And that's very kind of you to say. And I'm here to celebrate with you guys when we're all done, because I can't wait to watch you pass. And I'm just so proud and so happy. And this is such a great thing for our home visiting field and our family support professionals. I'm just excited and grateful to be here. So thank you for that.
What happens on the occasion that we don't pass?
So if you do not pass, you have to wait 6 months before you are able to sit for the exam again. When you have passed that 6-month span of time, you are then going to be able to register again. Now, I believe my understanding with your state is that the first attempt is going to be paid for by them. I do not know that that will happen with the second attempt. So if for whatever reason, that's why it's so incredibly important to make sure that we are paying attention to those rules and that we're really focused on keeping our space, safe and private while we take that test, because I would hate to see anybody pass, but then have a rule violation. But it's my understanding you will have 6 months after that, then you will be able to sit for the exam again in order to hopefully pass it that time. And that 6 months will allow you plenty of time to go back and check on those areas that you maybe didn't feel so comfortable with, and kind of beef those up. Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question.
Hi.
What type of style of testing is this, and how many questions we need to look forward to?
So you have 180 minutes, but it's not going to be where you have to worry about entering in and typing in. It is literally A, B, C, D. So you pick your
Multiple choice. Okay.
Yeah, it's multiple choice. So you don't have to worry about having to type in any type of an answer or anything like that. You're going to be given 4 options, and then you're going to be able to pick from there.
Okay. And how many questions?
I think 180.
180. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or 100. Yeah.
Hey, Christy, it's Annette.
Hi.
How long does it take us to find out how we do on the test?
So right after you pass your exam, or right after you hit that submit button, your email that you have linked to the Institute is going to pop up, and it's going to say, hey, congratulations, this is the score that you got on the test. Or, hey, unfortunately, this is the score that you got on the test, depending on whatever that's going to look like. If you get a passing score, it's going to say, hey, congratulations, you've received a passing score, pending review. That just means that the proctoring individual is going to review your testing time, make sure none of those rule violations occurred. As long as none of those rule violations occurred, you will hear within 1 month that you have successfully and completely passed, and then you are now going to be listed on the National Certification Exam Registry. And you'll be able to claim that, that sort of certified family support professional title. Any other questions, guys? I'm going to have the biggest email in the world drafted up and sent to you guys. I swear it's going to be the biggest. And I can't wait. And then feel free to share it with anybody else who maybe wasn't able to attend, who's still having to take the exam. Share. We want to lift up all of our boats up at once. You're welcome. Thank you guys. Thanks for coming and listening to me. I appreciate you guys as well. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day and enjoy I'm assuming, beautiful weather. It's got to be better than the 30 degrees we're rocking today in the middle of March or the end of March. Save me. All right. If there are no other questions, I will get to working on that email for you guys. It's 71. Take me. Have a great rest of your afternoon and enjoy your lunches and enjoy your time. 76. Oh my God. Bye, guys.